Welcome back to Krishna's Laurels. Today we'll be discussing fundamental duties, which is under chapter 6. So, we all know we have chapter 5, which consists of fundamental rights, and under chapter 6, we have fundamental duties. So, let's see a brief introduction to our fundamental rights. The concept of fundamental right was inspired from Russian constitution, and it was incorporated in part 4A under 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. It was incorporated on recommendation of Swan Singh Committee. What is committees? Hopefully, you know, whenever a parliament want to implement any law regarding any particular topic, they make a committee consisting of few intellectual people who have specialization on so and so thing. Like if you say finance related thing, people from finance background. If it is something related to tax, direct tax or indirect tax, people in that particular specialization, they choose some intellectual people or experienced people, and they make a committee, and that committee does research and give their recommendations. On the basis of their recommendations, that particular act come into force, and then that particular bill will be made, and that bill goes to parliament after passing it in Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, after getting assent, that is permission, like acceptance of president, a particular bill becomes act, and then that will be enforced as a law. Hopefully you understand the process. So originally so originally we had 10 fundamental rights, but another one, that is 11th, fundamental duties, was added under 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002, and we consider our 11th fundamental duty as the valuable asset to our constitution. Here we are saying that the fundamental duties are not non-enforceable, unlike our fundamental rights. How? If our fundamental rights get breached, we can approach Supreme Court, we can approach High Court, but here we can't approach court for enforcing of fundamental duties. And our fundamental duties play a role of an guide, that is valuable guide to interpret the constitution. What do you mean by interpreting? Is to understanding in a sense, what actually does that law says, what is spirit, in a sense what actually that particular law want to convey it, that is known as interpreting. And our fundamental duties uh, plays a role of a guide, similar to DPSP, that is Directive Principles of State Policy, which will be like seeing in next class. Our DPSPs and fundamental rights both are non-enforceable and non-justiciable. So we can't approach courts for enforcing of fundamental rights as well as DPSP. So coming to the significance, that is importance of our fundamental right, fundamental duties make first pointers, they develop a feeling of responsibility as well as patriotism. What is patriotism? That is deshbhakti. They develop a sense of responsibility as well as patriotism among the citizens. They promote civic consciousness, that is they remind citizens that they have an obligation, that is badyata, to uphold the constitutional values. Our fundamental duties even have, it also focuses, emphasis in a sense, focuses on what? Educational, scientific temper and cultural heritage preservation. It means it is not only focusing on what it is, developing the feeling of patriotism, or else developing the feeling of brotherhood, but also it is focusing on our development, that is focusing on education, scientific research, and preservation of our culture and heritage. It also complements, that is it complements fundamental rights. It is like in reciprocation. The government is giving us rights, and it is also giving us to obligation to follow fundamental duties, to fulfill fundamental duties. So it promotes people's participation. That is, every citizen should feel that it is that person is part of our nation, that is our India's achievement and goals. So here every person should participate in achieving national goals. Preservation of national unity. A fundamental duty stresses on the importance of unity, that we all are brothers and sisters, we are one, and we should be in harmony, supporting each other. Coming to the prominent features, we have two types of features. One is moral duty, and other one is civil duty. So what is moral duty? Moral duty is cherishing, in a sense, following any noble idea of a freedom struggle. So like we say Gandhian thinking process, or something, if you know, we do value in our fundamental duties as well. We do value Gandhiji's thought process, his noble ideas. That is part of moral duties. And what is civil duties? That is respecting our national institutions, respecting our national anthem, respecting our national flag. These are all civil duties. That is, we as a citizen, we need to follow it. Moral duties are something which is not, it is your individual thing. It is not related to society or our country, but it is your individual choice, how to be wrong, how to be good, what are morals, what are ethics. It is what we say moral duties. This is applicable only on Indian citizens, and not unlike how some fundamental rights are applicable on non-citizens as well. But fundamental duties are always applicable only to the Indian citizens. Courts cannot directly enforce fundamental duties. So here court has no right to directly enforce fundamental duties. How they do, court can force any person to enforce a fundamental right. We can approach Supreme Court and say that my fundamental right is breached. So at that time, court can enforce fundamental rights. But here, court cannot directly enforce the fundamental duties. But Parliament has this right to pass laws to enforce them. If our parliament makes a law saying that every person should stand while singing national anthem, it's a law. If you don't stand, then you will be behind the bars. So this is a law made by parliament. At this point, it was a fundamental duty, but now it is enforceable because they have made a law on it. So hopefully you understand the point. Emphasis values ingrained in Indian traditions and practices, and our fundamental duty is something which incorporate our Indian values and tradition as well. It involves moral duties, Indian tradition, Indian practices as well. So as we saw in introduction part, that our fundamental duties are non-enforceable and non-justiciable. What is non-justiciable and non-enforceable? In essence, the court can't penalize a person, in a sense penalize a citizen. Hopefully we should be very careful. If any MCQs come, might be, who knows, they might ask you, fundamental duties are applicable to citizens, only citizens, citizens as well as foreigners, none of the above, all of them. So the answer will be only Indian citizens. So fundamental rights are applicable only to the citizens of India. So our courts do not have any right to penalize citizens for violating of fundamental duties. But whereas if fundamental rights are breached, court can take action. Similarly to the DPSB of the state policy, fundamental duties cannot be legally enforced. Even our DPSP, that is Directive Principles of State Policies, are not legally enforced. They are just for the reference. While Parliament making any law, or while a person is doing anything, they should keep fundamental duties in their mind. But this doesn't mean that court can enforce it on any of the citizens, because it is non-enforceable and non-justificable. You can just mark this point and try to remember thrice, or more than thrice, that our fundamental duties are non-enforceable and not justiciable. So here we are seeing relationship between fundamental rights and fundamental duties. You can just pause the video and go through this image once. So here we said, right, that our fundamental duties and fundamental rights are reciprocal in nature. So here they are correlated and complementary to each other. Fundamental rights and fundamental duties are interrelated and are mutually reinforcing. So here we are saying these both are interlinked and complementary. They are like going hand on hand to each other and are mutually reinforcing. In a sense, whenever fundamental rights come into force, like come into picture, automatically we'll even be considering fundamental duties. Performance of fundamental duties create an enabling environment for others to enjoy their fundamental rights. See, if I am fulfilling my fundamental duties, what happens is opposite person can peacefully enjoy their fundamental rights because there will be no clashes. I am being respectful and following my each and every fundamental duty. So it will be a peaceful environment for others surrounding me to enjoy their fundamental rights. Rights precede duties. Without fulfilling rights, individual cannot effectively perform their duties. So here they are saying that right is preceding duties. That means right is more important than duty. If one person haven't fulfilled their right, how can an individual perform their duty? If my right has not given to me, how can the government expect me to perform the duty? This is what they're saying. So here they said as right precedes the duty. Please remember this point, that here they are saying that fundamental rights precedes fundamental duties. Precedes ante they are more important. So coming to the committee, that is Swan Singh Committee recommendations. What have been recommended under Swan Singh Committee? Amid the internal emergency, you know, right, in Indira Gandhi's emergency in 1970. So the Swaran Singh Committee was formed to recommend the incorporation of fundamental duties into the constitution. So this committee was made for incorporation of fundamental duties. The Congress government acknowledged that these recommendations during the emergency period. So Congress government was there, you know, in 1970s. At that time, Congress government have acknowledged until they have agreed to these recommendation during the emergency period. The recommendation were enacted into law through 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So the recommendations made by Swan Singh Committee were came into effect under 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So hopefully you know what is Constitutional Amendment Act. Like our constitution kept on amending. In a sense, it is 103rd amendment, I guess, when our GST was implemented. So it was 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act when our GST came into force. So whenever we come up with any changes or any amendment in our constitution, we call it as Constitutional Amendment Act. So in 42nd, this is 42nd change that we have incorporated, that is inserted fundamental duties in our constitution. Originally, the committee proposed 8 fundamental duties, but the final amendment included 10. So as a draft, you say, like while they made a report, they said we'll be only proposing 8 fundamental duties, but before this duties coming into effect, they have added more to, and finally it became 10 fundamental duties. Recommendations not incorporated. So these are the recommendations which were not enacted, like not incorporated. Refusal to observe or non-compliance with fundamental duty would result in punishment or penalty. So first point, they have said that if someone does not follow fundamental duties, they should be punished. This point was not considered, and that's the reason our fundamental duties are not enforceable, and we don't have any punishment to not following fundamental duties. Law imposing penalties for non-compliance would not be challenged in court based on violation of fundamental rights on breach of other constitutional provision. So here the other recommendation was that no one can laws imposing penalties would not be challenged. In a sense, this point should not be challenged in court on basis that your fundamental right was violated. That was the reason you have breached. In a sense, you have not uh, complied with the fundamental duties. Example, say my right to vote was that was my fundamental duties as well as my fundamental right. like right to vote is our fundamental duty as well as fundamental right. So here you can say someone have stopped you from voting. They didn't let you inside the polling booth. So at that time, people said you didn't vote. Just imagine, okay? So they said you didn't vote, that is breach of fundamental duty. So you will be punished. But here you can't say that my fundamental right is violated, I was stopped. They'll not listen this, because here they said non-compliance would not be challenged, and this particular recommendation was rejected. Paying taxes should be listed as a fundamental duty. This was a other recommendation. So here, I guess this is point one that says that non-compliance will be punished and punishment would not be challenged. This is one point. Another point is that paying taxes should be listed as a fundamental duty, which is not listed. It is not a fundamental duties. This recommendation was rejected. Coming to the review of fundamental duties by Verma committee. So here Verma committee is criticizing Swan Singh committee's recommendation. So in 1999, Verma committee on fundamental duties was established to assess the legal provisions for implementing of fundamental duties. In a sense, they have assessed, in a sense, kind of researched on it, assessing, in a sense, checking, kind of, you say, cross check, and they have given their opinions, their reviews, how this fundamental duties legal provisions are. Identified existing legal provisions, including the Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act 1971, Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955, Representation of People Act 1951, and others. So in 1999, via Verma committee, these acts were identified. In a sense, they have shown that we have need of these acts, and they have identified them. Recommendations to promote awareness and understand the fundamental duties. So Verma committee have said that we need to promote awareness among our citizens, and we should explain them the importance of the fundamental duties. So here, what were the recommendations? Emphasize the importance of fundamental duties to evaluate citizens standing in public life. They are saying that we should explain the importance of our fundamental duties to the citizen. Then they are saying that public officials prioritize public interest over the personal interest and refrain from the selfishness and nepotism. What do you mean by nepotism? If my father is doctor, I'll be doctor. My child will also be doctor. So this is like nepotism. Everyone will be in same background. So here they are saying that public officers, that is like judges, police, someone who is in power, should always prioritize, give importance to the public interest, general public interest, but not their personal interests, and should not be selfish. Integrity should be guide public official in managing their offices. So they are saying that our public officials, that is our government servants, IAS, IPS, judge, anyone, should have integrity. Integrity in a sense, morals, values, ethics. Accountability of public officer holders for decisions and actions. So if something goes wrong and that person is liable, then he should be accountable. He should have that accountability, that okay, if something goes wrong, I'll be the one who will be blamed, it is because of me. That person should have that particular accountability. Maximize the transparency in all condition and actions. They have recommended that every step or every action done by government or government officials should be transparent, or and every citizen should know what all decisions were took and what all actions were took. Uphold the honesty while in office. Government officials should be honest while they are in office. Leadership plays a crucial role in promoting and exemplifying these principles. So here they are saying that the leadership quality in a particular government employee or government service servant plays a crucial role in promoting these all principles, these all which we have just read. So 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, the central government accepted the recommendation made by Sardar Swan Singh Committee to include fundamental duties in the Constitution. This was implemented under 42nd Amendment Act 1976 and was added to Part 4A of the Constitution. Part 4A was consisting of Article 51A, specifying 10 fundamental duties, though the committee have recommended only 8 fundamental duties, and via amendment they made it 10. But originally the Swansingh committee recommended only 8 fundamental duties. Coming to the 86 Constitutional Amendment Act 2002, where we have added to an additional fundamental duty, that is our 11th fundamental duty. This duty entails providing opportunity for education children between 6 years to 14 years, and this is uh, considered as the like most important fundamental duty, or the most important provision of our whole constitution, because here they said that every child who is under 6 to 14 years of age should be provided with the education, stating that they have right to education and opportunity for education should be provided. Since it's enacted, the list of fundamental duties in Indian Constitution have remained unchanged. So from 2002 to 2024, there have no changes been made to fundamental duties. Coming on to fundamental duties under Article 51A of our Indian Constitution. So let's see our fundamental duties. You need not to mug up, just go through, read it once or twice, you'll be good to go. So first fundamental duty is to abide with the constitution and respect its idea, institution, the national flag and the national anthem. Very simple, we need to respect our constitution, ideas of the constitution, institutions of the constitution, like government institutions, hopefully you know, the national flag, the national anthem, we need to abide or like respect it, to cherish and follow the noble ideas of our freedom fighters, like national struggle for freedom, whoever have fought for our freedom, we have to respect their noble ideas, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, integrity and unity of our India. Hopefully you have heard these three words again and again and again. You know that what is sovereignty, integrity and unity. To defend the country and render the national services when called upon to do so. So this provision says that whenever country needs you, you need to go and render services, that is free services to our nation, whenever, like in case of war or emergency. To promote harmony in a sense, brotherhood, spirit of common brotherhood amongst the people of all India, whether they are from any language, any religion, or any regional sectoral diversity. They all should be in a harmonious pattern. They should all be friendly, together, mingled up, and feel the sense of unity. To value and preserve the rich heritage of our country, to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lake, wildlife, and to have compassion for the legal creatures. We need to save our environment. This is what they're saying. Fundamental duties under Article 51A, the continuation. So, to develop the scientific temper, the point we have seen, scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. To safeguard the public property and to abjure the violence. We need to stop violence and protect our public property. To strive towards excellence in all sphere of individual collective activity, so that our nation should constantly rise to higher levels of our endeavor and achievement. So here the national duty, this is the one of them, that every citizen should be participating and should focus that our India should be growing in every aspect and should rise to the higher levels. To provide opportunities for education to child who is between 6 to 14 years old, that this have been added under 86th Amendment Act, that is in 2002. This is our 11th fundamental right. Criticism of fundamental duty. So what is criticism of fundamental duties? That they are seen as moral values, moral rules, because they can't be enforced by the law. So here first point we are saying as many people do ignore it, because these are just moral rules, and because they are not punished not to follow fundamental duties, many people don't follow it. Some people think adding them to the constitution was unnecessary, since people would do these things anyway. Some said that, "Oh, even if you don't say us, we will do it because it's very obvious." So they said it was unnecessary. Some duties are unclear and hard to regular folk to understand. So some duties were really unclear and it was hard to few people to understand. The list does not cover everything like paying taxes, voting, etc. So this list doesn't include voting, paying taxes, etc. Putting them in a certain part of the constitution make them seem less important. So they are saying that fundamental right being only in a particular part of constitution makes fundamental duties very more less important. So they are saying that fundamental duties being just a part of constitution, one part, that is chapter 4, makes it feel very much less important. Swansea committee's recommendation were not fully adopted. Or the recommendation what they have given, that is for non-compliance, penalty should be imposed, punishment decided by parliament, immune to the judicial review. The other recommendation given by Swansea committee was like, if parliament gives uh, any punishment, judicial innocence, judges or court should review them and then impose on that particular person. This is what they have recommended, but this was not implemented. Paying taxes should be a fundamental duty. This thing was also not being implemented. So they have said that Swansea committee's recommendation were not fully adopted. So what are the views of our Supreme Court on fundamental duties? In the case Sri Ranganatha Mishra versus Union of India 2003, Supreme Court emphasized, in a sense, stressed on upholding fundamental duties through social sanctions, not just legal ones. So here they have said that fundamental duties should be uh, more upholding as in social sanction, that you should make people feel that they are citizen of India and they should be responsible, or they should be obliged to do that, like that, and not just imposing penalty on them and just saying, if you'll not do this, we'll penal you or will punish you. They said focus on social sanctions. Directed the implementation of Justice J.S. Verma committee's recommendation to promote awareness about fundamental duties. So in this case, Supreme Court as well said that according to Verma committee's recommendation, we should surely promote awareness about the fundamental duties. AIIMS Students Union versus AI AIMS 2001 case में what they have said is, Supreme Court affirmed that fundamental duties are equally important as fundamental rights. Here in AIMS case, they have said that fundamental duties and fundamental rights are equally important, highlighted the equal significance of both designated fundamental. So they have said fundamental, both of them are designated with the fundamental because they both are significantly important and equal. So in the case Emmanuel versus State of Kerala 1987, so hopefully you know this case, that 3 children of Jehovah community witnessed expelled from a school. So I'll just give you a short backup. What happened, in a sense, Jehovah community, 3 children from that particular community were removed, expelled from the school for not singing national anthem, because at that point of time they said it is a fundamental duty to respect our national anthem, and circular issued by Director of Instruction Kerala making singing national anthem is compulsory, because in our fundamental duty, first duty itself is saying that we need to abide with the fundamental duties. So children stood out of respect but did not sing the song due to religious belief. Here what happens in Genoa community, they believe that they shouldn't sing anything apart from their religious songs. So here they said that expelling them from school was violation of their fundamental the explanation what they did from the school was because they violated the fundamental duties, that was to abide with the national anthem, and alleged offenses under the Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act 1970. They have said that they have expelled them, they have removed them from the school because they were not singing national anthem. They were violating their fundamental duties, as well as they did an offense under Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act 1971. court reversed High Court's decision, stating no offense committed as they stood out of respect. So here, first time Supreme Court have said that that they have not committed any offense because they stood out of respect, and they have showed their gesture that they respect our national anthem. Supreme Court's view on fundamental duties. So in the this case, that is Dr. Dasarathi versus AP, State of AP 1984, court emphasizes the duty of citizens to strive towards excellence in all sphere of life, duty extended to collective activity for the nation's continuous progress. So here in Dasarathi case, what court have emphasis on that? In this case, the Supreme Court have said that every citizen should collectively work for national excellence, that our nation's excellence in all sphere of the life. And here they said that state should authorize to provide opportunity to our citizens for achieving excellence within the framework of constitution, like giving scholarships, letting intelligent students study who are like financially not able to do that. Like within the scope of our constitution, state can provide opportunities to achieve the excellence. Shahrukh Khurana versus Union of India 2005. Here again, Supreme Court is emphasizing on the state's responsibility to facilitate the opportunity for citizens' development and citizens' duty extended to collective duty of state. So here they are saying that it is duty of citizens to collectively work for, and state should provide citizens with the opportunities. So we have completed our fundamental duties. There is huge discount going on mega mock test series for AP and Telangana LAWCET 2024. Do enroll. Link is in description box. You can just like drop a message in Instagram or in Telegram.